Hello everyone, welcome to my kitchen. My name is Michael and today we're going to be talking about cast iron skillets. I recently went online and purchased this skillet and I use my own money. It is not sponsored by Lodge and it is a Lodge cast iron skillet made here in the United States, not too far from here up in Tennessee, and it is a 10 1/4 inch skillet. With the lid that I've got that's cast iron as well, we can use that in the oven with it, and that way it can be used like a Dutch oven. So I'm going to go ahead and peel this label off of this and we'll look at the inside. This one has already been pre-seasoned from the factory, but I still do a little bit more of a process to it so you can feel the roughness a little bit in it. It's fairly smooth, this one is, but it does have a few little ridges in it that the seasoning will take care of over time. And I've got this cast iron skillet here that I use, and the bottom of it is just slick. It's really slick. It's got a very good seasoning built up on that. This one is really old. I'm not sure how old it is, but I've had it for a while. And then another one of my skillets that I've got is carbon steel. Carbon steel has the same, you do season it the same way that you do cast iron. It's a lot lighter weight than cast iron is. So that's an option too if you're interested in that. You treat it the same way you do the cast iron skillet. So there's a lot of rumors and things with cast iron that you can't cook in them. And one of the things that I don't cook in a cast iron skillet or my carbon steel pan is anything that's acidic. So like if you're going to be cooking tomatoes or tomato paste for a long period of time, it more than likely, with the experience that I've had with it, will pull the seasoning off of the skillet. So you don't want to do that. So I don't use the skillets with anything that has to cook acidic foods with it. So if I'm cooking tomatoes or if I'm putting anything with wine that's going to sit in it for a lengthy period of time, I don't put that in the skillet here. I've got another cast iron skillet that's got an enamel liner in it that I'll use for that. So I've still got the cast iron, but I don't have to worry about the seasoning with the enameling that's in that. So let's get started how we're going to prepare this. I'm going to take this over to the sink and I'll come back in just a minute. And I'm going to put just a little bit of dishwashing liquid in it. That will be the only time that I'll ever use soap in a skillet. As you know, when you put soap in grease, it dissolves it and takes it off. So I've just never put it in there. So how you clean them, and I can make another video in the future if you want to see how I actually clean these things. But I just use a scrub brush, or they make a little, Lodge sells a little thing. It's a black little scraper that you can scrape food and things out of, and they also make chain mail that you can use to clean the bottom out of them. So we can talk about that in another video if you like. But today we're going to be talking about seasoning. So I'm going to take this over to the sink and I'm going to give it a good wash, and we'll be right back and I'll show you what we do next. Everybody, we are back and I have my skillet out of the oven. It is still hot, where I had it on 225 for 10 minutes just to heat it up to make sure that all the pores on the metal was open. And then I have placed my aluminum foil that I made in the bottom rack, and I do have a rack in the middle of the oven that the skillet's going to sit on. So let's go ahead and get started with our seasoning. I've got some clean paper towels here that I'm going to dip down into my shortening. I'm just going to pick up just a little bit on it, and we're going to make sure that we want to get the handle because it is still hot from that. As you can see, the skillet is melting that seasoning or the shortening down really well, and we want to make sure we get a good layer on all the surfaces, even the little gripper handles here. We want to make sure that we get some seasoning on that across the top. We don't want any surface not to be covered. We're even going to cover the outside. So I'm going to get another clean piece of paper here. That way I can get just a little bit more shortening to get the outside done. Make sure that we get every surface of this thing covered. And now we're going to get the handle, because we don't want to leave that out because that's metal also. So make sure you get the handle on it also. All right, so now that is your layer of shortening. Now you're going to come in with a cloth or a paper towel, your choice, and we're going to wipe it off. You're going to think, why? I just put that on and we're wiping it off. You definitely want to get it off. You don't want to leave that on there, because if you leave it on it, you'll come back to a sticky mess. I don't know if you've ever had cast iron skillets before that were sticky, and that's because you've let oil settle on them and dry that way. So we want to make sure that we get it off. So it's almost feels like it's dry, but it's not. Even get the handle, because if you, I'm going to kind of describe what little bit I know about cast iron is it is like little ridges and things where they make the process. So when you're putting the oil or you're shortening down into it, it's filling in the little grooves, and the more that you season it, it fills those up to the point where if there were any ridges in the metal at all, it would even it out, and that's where you get your smooth non-stick surface. So the more you use the skillet, the better it's going to be. So like I say, we want to make sure that we get everything off of it. We don't want to leave anything on it. And we are going to repeat this process 4 times. So I'm going to put this in my oven, and I've got heated up to 450, and we're going to turn it upside down. And I have my aluminum foil in the very bottom just to make sure, but you can see how dry that is. I'm not going to have any problem with that, but leave it in the oven for 1 hour on 450, and we'll do the lid the same way. And then once your hour has passed, we will turn the oven off and leave the skillet in the oven along with the lid, and let the oven cool with the skillet in it. Don't even touch it. Let it cool for about 30 minutes to an hour. And then at that point, you take it out and repeat the process again. So I won't go through the whole process again with you with that. I'll kind of fast forward, but I'll show you what it looks like after each step and each phase of how the color will change. I don't know if you'll see too much on the skillet here, but it just from the first coating of the oil that I put on, it's got a little bit darker. But like I say, when you put your seasoning on, whatever you use, make sure that you put it on, that get all the surfaces covered, and then completely wipe it off so that it feels dry, but you still have some oil in it. You're not taking it all out due to the ridges it's in the skillet for the process of making it. So I will see you back once the skillet has cooled down, and we'll put our second layer of seasoning on it. Stay tuned. Hello everybody, I am back, and we are ready for our second coating of our seasoning on that. I don't know if you can see the color on it. It has changed a little bit, and there's the back of it. So let me get started. I'll go ahead and put my second coating of oil on it, and we'll get it back in the oven. It did bake for 1 hour, and then I turned it off for 30 minutes, and I pulled it out. So we are ready for round 2 now of our seasoning. I am back, and my skillet and lid have cooled after the 4th treatment of the process that I used to season my skillets initially. And you can see here, I know you can't feel, but it does feel a little bit smoother than it did before. So we've got a nice good coating on that and a good start to our seasoning. It's not sticky. So just remember that if you do try that process, make sure that you wipe as much of it off as you can, because you definitely don't want to leave layers in there. And by turning it upside down, you don't have it pooling in the bottom. I did pull the aluminum foil out, and there wasn't a drop on it, so we did good with that. So that's how I use my steps to season a new cast iron skillet. And the best way to start building the multiple layers is just to use it. So my next order of business, I'm going to fry some bacon, and that is a high fat content in bacon, and that will add more seasoning to the skillet. So definitely use this, and as you use it in the future, it'll get that more of a nice slick non-stick coverage on it that you're looking for. So definitely, I'd love to hear from you in the comments below if this inspired you to get a cast iron skillet, or if you currently use cast iron. I'd love to hear from you. So that's what I'm going to do today, and I hope you've enjoyed this video. And if you've already subscribed to my channel, I do appreciate it. And if you haven't, consider subscribing to this channel for me to make new content in the future. And ring that bell so you'll be notified of any future videos that come out. So thank you much for staying with me today as I show you how I do an initial coating of my cast iron skillets. Thanks. Bye-bye.